Hi guys, Konstantin here from CGC. How's everybody doing? I'm just fine. In case you haven't noticed, we're at that time of the year where Computex 2024 is in full swing, and this year I've decided to do my own cover of it. A small cover of the biggest presentations I'm basically following. So, in case you haven't noticed, and your social media wasn't probably flooded enough with lots of commercials and rumors and leaks during Computex 2024, which is the biggest computer technology show of the year, basically, in my point of view. All the major brands and major companies huddle up together at Taipei to show you their new products, new features, and next generation hardware. Among those plethora of companies that's out there, the three main ones that I normally follow and I normally watch their keynotes are AMD, Intel, and as you all know, Nvidia. Now, AMD tends to open the show pretty much every year, introducing a new generation of processors and various technologies and so on and so forth. Nvidia is always being cheeky, so this year they've actually done a keynote pre-Computex. So the day before Computex, they've done their own keynote, which was pretty amazing and massive. And last but not least, we've got Intel as well, which had their own keynote, and it just finished today. And which I watched. Now each presentation is about 1 hour and a half long, so it is pretty long. So basically in this video I'm going to cover about 3.5 hours worth of keynotes and presentations from the three major tech companies at the moment. So we've got AMD, Nvidia, and Intel, not necessarily in this order. So, AMD this year has introduced
Our new Ryzen 9000 CPUs are the world's fastest consumer PC processors, bringing our new Zen 5 core to the AM5 platform with support for the latest I/O and memory technologies, including PCIe 5 and DDR5. I'm happy to show you now our brand new Zen 5 core. Zen 5 is actually the next big step in high-performance CPUs. It's a grounds-up design that's extremely high performance and also incredibly energy efficient.
So Ryzen 9000 is a successor of the 7000 series, and it basically comes with the same features as the Ryzen 7000 series, apart from the fact that they've done some architectural changes, which introduces basically 16% on average IPC instruction per clock performance. So it's basically 16% faster than Ryzen 7000 series. On some applications it's lower than 16, on some applications it's higher, so that's why they're saying the average. They've noticed gains up to like 40% in Geekbench and like 5-7% in some games and stuff like that. The main thing I wasn't very surprised with this release is the fact that it has the same capabilities of the 7000 series. So we're talking about same number of cores. The core situation has not changed. So 9950, 9900, 9600 will have 16, 12, 8 cores, 6, so on and so forth. Apart from that, you got the same frequency, so 5.7 gigahertz max. You've got same amount of cache, 80 megabytes of cache, same technology, 5 nanometers. So basically they've taken a page out of Intel's book, if you ask me, and this year they've decided to release a refresh of the previous GPU with some improvements. So they would say they've got some performance gains over it, and call it a day, if you ask me. Pretty much where AMD has done improvements, and I give it to them, is they've improved their lineup of server-side CPUs. So they're going to launch a new Epic CPU with 192 cores to compete with Intel CPUs, which we're going to talk about later. And they're also going to launch a new APU, which is called AMD Strix Point, which is going to be, apparently they're saying they're also changing the names to it. It's going to be like Ryzen AI 300 or something like that, just so they would have the same naming structure like Intel. And apparently they're heavily invested in AI in this new APU, so it's going to be mobile So pretty much notebooks, handheld PCs, all stuff like that, like little gaming consoles that are handheld that are very popular lately. So all their R&D resources for this previous year has gone into developing platforms, developing newer and better platforms for mobile and server, whilst the desktop CPUs, such as the new 9000 series, is just basically a refresh with some IPC improvements. Now, personally, for me, that's not going to be an incentive high enough to go out there and purchase the new CPUs. The only thing that I've kind of light on the new desktop CPU presentation is the actual motherboards, which Lisa Su did not bring up in her presentation, but it was brought up by all the major YouTubers because they received the press. They've had a press meeting before the keynote took place from AMD, and the new motherboard, which should have been called X770s because the current one is X670s. The new motherboard are currently called X870s, just so they'll be on par with the Intel motherboards, and they also feature a bit of improvement. So you still have the X870E, which will have PCIe 5.0 for both GPU and an NVMe drive, so they don't share it anymore, and they've got USB 4.0 support. And they also, the most important thing is they support memory up to DDR5 8000, which is a lot better than DDR5 6000, which currently is a sweet spot for the current AM5 platform X670E motherboards. So yeah, the only thing I would do an upgrade for is basically fresh motherboard if I feel like it, and I'm gonna wait to see how the new 9950X3D behaves and how it's gonna be, because they haven't presented it yet. What they're normally gonna do is they're gonna wait for Intel to release their desktop CPU generation for this year, which is gonna be somewhere in fall from what I've heard, and then they're gonna release the 9950X3D technology, which is the Ryzen with the extra cache. So that's going to come towards the later part of the year, which I would recommend everybody to wait for and purchase if you're looking to buy a new AMD CPU. So currently I would say pass on this one, wait a little bit, wait for the new generation to come out of X3D CPUs, and then compare them with the current 9000 series. And if they've got less problems, like if you guys remember previously last year when the X3D new generation was released, they started like not blowing up but burning themselves out because of the CPU voltage limits for some manufacturers. Anyways, I'm not going to go into that, but basically all I'm saying is if you want to buy Strix APU from AMD this year, yeah, go for it. Some new Ryzen AI CPUs for mobile and notebooks, yeah, they're alright, but just compare them with whatever Intel has, like the new Lunar Lake architecture, which is pretty good, I would say. It has more innovations, but in terms of CPUs, I'm a bit disappointed. Right, moving forward to Nvidia. Nvidia's presentation was very comprehensive, and they mostly focused on AI improvements. So as you all know, they've got a very various and diversified AI portfolio, mostly regarding applications and how they're trying to develop even more applications for using AI, basically for everything. So they've pretty much any industry in the world you can think of, they've got an AI model for it, and they would be useful in that industry. So basically that's the most of the bulk of their presentation. They've also brought back the Blackwell generation again and presented it to Computex, which they presented it in their GTC a while ago. And basically there's a new slogan that Jensen's come up with: the more you buy, the more you save. So basically they're saying, go buy my GPU for AI purposes. It's the faster one, it's the fastest one, and it currently is. It's also one of the most expensive one, but he's saying that because you're saving so much on the performance to power used ratio, it's actually worth it. And I tend to believe that he is. Also, he's presented a lot of technologies that Nvidia is using AI into at the moment, and a lot of very pretty much diversifying his AI portfolio basically. So he's covering a lot of areas and a lot of ground. He's been very detailed for each and every one of them in this presentation, but again, for me, they're not of very much interest. The only thing I got interested in is the any information that might have been relevant to the next generation of GPUs. Unfortunately, there was not even a hint of updates regarding the gaming GPUs that Nvidia will be releasing this year. So what they're normally going to do is they're going to do their own presentation, their own keynote somewhere in September and in fall, where they're going to present the new gaming GPU, which is, we think it is codenamed Blackwell. All the leaks are suggesting that this new gaming GPU will be pretty much 50 to 70% more powerful than the current 4090 GPU, which is a top in the flagship. Now, there's been some rumors saying that they're trying to even cut down on that because of basically there's no competition between at the higher tier, which is the most interesting one, to be honest. There's no competition between Nvidia and the other manufacturers, which is now AMD and Intel. So there's leaks going around basically that they're gonna shave about 10-15% of performance from the 5090 prototype that they have. Just, I don't know, just so they could either make a 5090 right now and then introduce a 5090 Ti later down the road, or have something down the sleeve in case of one of the competitors releasing a more powerful GPU, or just segmenting their products even more. I don't know why, but there's rumors that the 5090 as we know it, with 32 gigs of DDR7 and 512-bit bus, and up to 192 SMs, will basically have a 448-bit, 27 gigs of RAM, and 20 and up to 160 or something like that SM, so less than 190. Anyways, the exact number of SMs is unknown. Hopefully, well, I am hoping that they won't actually do that, or if they do announce it and they do segment it, I would rather like for them to announce that there's going to be TI down the road with the full fat Blackwell dies in it, let's call it like that, because I would not like for myself and other gamers to purchase a 5090 and then a couple of months later to find out that they're actually releasing a 5090 Ti, which is the full fat Blackwell GPU. But there's one thing from the rumors that I do see that's very constant. It's the fact that everybody seems to be saying that there are multiple dies chips. So it's just like the AI GPUs on the Blackwell series. There will be two dies connected together on the latest gaming chip coming from Nvidia this fall. So basically, that's the most interesting bit from the leaks in terms of this presentation. It was very interesting. I did watch it, but I'm not very passionate about most of the things in there. The thing that I did learn that might come to us is digital humans and the little models that there's like some modules with AI models that Nvidia's willing to sell to all the companies, which will basically look through all the databases of all your information, learn them, and give you exact examples, so on and so forth. Anyways, for more details, I would suggest you follow up on that presentation. It's pretty big. There's one thing that I did notice, and it was a bit of a hint on what's coming next from Blackwell, is he's announced the latest the next generation of AI GPUs, which is the Vera Rubin generation. But unfortunately, that generation, well, from all the information he's provided so far is for the AI GPU generation, so nothing else regarding to that. So apparently, they're going to be using HBM4, and Vera Rubin is going to be very, very powerful when it's coming. But that's basically pretty much all he said. There's nothing else that we got out of it from that. So yeah, the Nvidia presentation was massive, but for gamers it did not have a lot of values. For technology, for Computex and Taipei, I think it did. But yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see maybe there's any leaks in the future or anything coming like that about the new gaming GPUs from Nvidia. Right, last but not least, we've got Intel. Intel started strong. with Pat Gensinger, which is their CEO. And just like he always likes to do, he started with a bit of a history, information about the origins of Taipei, how it started, about the origins of Intel, about Moore's Law. That's basically his favorite thing to say on any keynote where he starts presenting some new technology. And basically, apart from that, then they've shifted towards obviously the main and hottest topic of them all, which is AI. So he wanted to prove that Intel is strongly devoted to AI as well, and show a lot of technology, and saying that they're developing. They've got their AI platform, which I think is called the Gaudi 2, Gaudi 3, which is for AI, and they've compared it to the competition, saying it's faster to learn, it uses Ultra Ethernet instead of proprietary technologies. Right, so this is their first CPU that they've presented.
High core count, high density, exceptional performance per watt. It's also important to note that this is our first product on Intel 3. And Intel 3 is the third of our 5 nodes in 4 years as we continue our march back to process technology, competitiveness, and leadership next year. And this enables us to have the choice for high-density, scale-out workloads for the future. In simple terms, performance up, power down.
And he then moved on to presenting the next CPU, which is a model which has twice the cores of that one. So instead of 144, the next one has 288.
And by the way, this will only get better. And if 144 cores is good, well, let's put 2 of them together and let's have 288 cores. So later this year, we'll be bringing the second generation of our Xeon 6 with E-cores, a whopping 288 cores, and this will enable a stunning 6-to-1 consolidation ratio. Better claim than anything we've seen in the industry.
And on top of that, their next generation Granite Rapid, which is the only form of P-core, is presented next.
More to come. And in Q3, we'll introduce the E-core's big brother, the P-core version, Granite Rapids, our next generation of the Xeon 6 family of processors. Xeon back on its way in a big and powerful way for the industry.
Right, so after presenting his CPU lineup for the upcoming generations, he then slowly started leading the discussion towards AI, introducing some AI capabilities for his Intel's data center and his Intel CPU, introducing some partners, and at the end of it, he started with presenting the next generation of mobile CPUs, which is Lunar Lake.
The marketplace. The entire ecosystem is behind us, and you can see it right here. Ain't it a beautiful sight? And here, we're just thrilled by, seeing these many new PCs, and I only have 3 of them that I'm carrying around these days, seeing the next generation Core Ultra, PCs. And we already have about a third of these are Lunar Lake PCs, which I'm about to talk about. We're at the forefront of this category creation moment, and we're proud of the partnership that we have with you, the key software providers across the industry, and our partnership with Microsoft. So let's hear right now.
So all those laptops are powered by Intel Lunar Lake, which is their next-gen mobile CPU. Now, compared to Meteor Lake, which I think is their initial benchmark against, it brings 50% better performance, more tops up to 120, better GPUs, and 40% lower. Unfortunately, no benchmarks were provided, which is a bit kind of like, okay, dull. But I did see a video from Gamers Nexus, which one of the Intel execs has had a presentation about the new GPU that's going to be released from Intel, which is the Battle Mage, but they've only presented the Battle Mage for the mobile CPU division, and there Steve Burke was saying that the next generation of GPUs from Intel is quite different from what they currently have, which is the Intel Alchemist A770s, and it's different in many good ways. I'm gonna put a quick video about that right now.
One of the larger changes that Intel made is re-architecting the GPU to SIMD16 instead of SIMD8. SIMD means single instruction, multiple data. Moving to native SIMD16 for the engine was promoted as a key change architecturally, and Intel described the change like this, quote, basically, there's 8 lanes of computation for every instruction. We've moved that architecture to be 16 wide, which has a lot of efficiency benefits, but also compatibility benefits. More and more often, you'll see games running right out of the box, end quote. Now, this change also means that Intel's XVE or XE vector engine core count has reduced per XE core and render slice, but this was an intentional change.
So basically, there's a new generation of Battle Mage GPUs for desktop that's coming as well, but Intel did not specify when they're gonna do that, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna come out this year, in the same time with AMD RDNA 4 and the next G4 series GPUs. Now, I would really like to see some benchmarks, or if someone could leak some, that would be great, because by the looks of it, we've got new architectures coming and they've all made improvements, and that's quite interesting. So as I said, it's a great year for technology, my friends. And now for 2 of my favorite quotes.
The more you buy, the more you save.
Spend less and get more.
That's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to hear more. I do want to grow my subscriber base as much as I can. No one's ever going to pay me for ads or anything like that. And see you around. Cheers. Bye-bye.